Welcome to the inFlow Reports of All Sorts webinar. So my name is Phil. You can see a nice little picture of me there. I'm on the community and support team. We're going to get started with this now. So again, we're going through reports. This is kind of just an overview of today's topics. We're going to start off with the desktop reports, kind of go through the different ways that you can actually customize each of the different reports to get the information you're looking for. We'll go through a bit of how the different ways that you can save them, and then as well as export them to different programs that you might need. Then we'll move on to showing how you can customize reports on the web. Again, you can get almost all the same information that you can from the desktop, so we can go through that. And then the desktop program also does have another handy feature called the dashboard, so we'll go through a little bit of that and kind of compare how it works with the reports and everything. Reports on the desktop. So the main thing that people are going to use reports for, they're an extremely powerful way to view your data that you're putting into inFlow every day through your purchase orders, your sales orders, your stock adjustments, all your different things like that. So we have all of the reports broken down into 5 different sections. So we've got the sales, purchasing, inventory, and administration, and then my reports, which we'll get into a little bit later. Your sales reports are just going to be your general things where you can find profit values, how many things you sold, at what prices, and how much. Purchasing is going to be everything to do with your purchase orders, so all of the items that you're bringing into inFlow. Your inventory reports are going to be really powerful for showing where your inventory has gone, so you can track the movement of your products. You can see how much of something you had in stock at a certain time. And then the administration stuff is more about tracking what your employees may have done within the program. With every single report, you have different filters that you can actually use to help narrow down which data you're going to find on that report. And then every report, the columns are what you're actually seeing for that information. So most of the reports, there are different columns that you can actually either add or subtract from the reports, and that'll give you different information that you can see. The available columns are different for every single report. They are pre-built into the system, so unfortunately you cannot add extra columns or anything like that unless they are in the specific drop-downs that I'll show you. But there are usually quite a few different ways to get the information you're looking for. So one report may not have it, but you might be able to find it on another. And in that case, you might be able to kind of then put the information together for what you're looking for. And just a really helpful tip, not sure if you all know about custom fields, but custom fields you can add to inFlow in most of the different areas, like customers, sales orders, purchase orders, even your specific products. And the custom fields are available in most of the reports. So once you add a custom field, it becomes a selectable column that you can add to those reports. And that can usually be used to kind of get extra information that you need in there, or just, again, something that not a lot of people know. So we're going to go to our first demo where I can show you kind of customizing some of the different reports in the desktop program. Okay, so here you're going to see the Windows desktop program of inFlow Cloud. Again, this is only available on Windows machines, unfortunately. So if you have a Mac or Linux or something else like that, unfortunately, you can't download and use this. A lot of our customers that do have Macs will use something like Parallels or Boot Camp or something like that, or have a separate PC that they can install this on, just again, because it does have a lot of flexibility and features that you can use. So from here, to get to the reports, you just go into the menu. You've got your whole report section down here. And we've got all your reports here, and this recent report list will just show the most recent reports that you've kind of recently gone through. So this will update every time that you run through your different reports. So the first thing, again, like I was saying, we've got all the different categories. So you can see we've got our sales reports, purchasing, inventory, administration, and then my reports down here at the bottom. Customizing them, every single report can be customized. All you have to do is select a specific one. Like if I was trying to find out how many sales I did in the last month, I would probably want to choose a sales order summary report. One thing that can be useful, these previews on here are actual data from sample reports. So if you actually scroll over each of the reports here, it will change, and you can kind of see some of the columns that are on or available in each report. So I can see the customer payment summary has customer, contact, phone number, last order, last payment, sales total. And so what I usually do, again, inFlow has a lot of reports. I'll quickly scroll through and kind of see if there's one that looks like it has some of the information that I may want, and then drill down into it a little further. So again, if our question is how many sales did I do in the last month, if I'm looking at sales order summary, this looks like it would most likely have everything that I want. So customizing the report, the first thing that we have is these filter by options here. You've got lots of different choices that you can do here, and this is what's going to filter your information to get you only the specific stuff that you're looking for. In this case, if we're looking for how many sales did we process in the last month, we're going to be looking for orders that were within the last, let's say last month, which we can choose here. Now with filters, you see I have 4 here on the screen to start with, but if you click on any of these, you can actually change them, or if you click this little add or remove down here at the bottom, I can actually add another filter in here, and then I can change it to something else. So if I also wanted to filter by a location or a specific customer, then we can actually do that as well. So in something like this, we don't need anything else. The next thing that you can do to customize is if you hit this more button, this is where you're actually going to get all the extra columns. So this is showing you all the information that is actually going to display on the report itself. So these again are all preset per each report. So these are not all going to be available on every report. Each report will have something slightly different. But on this one, you can see that we're getting the order number, the customer, inventory status, payment status, date paid, the subtotal, freight, tax, and the total. And again, you can add on different things if you wanted to see the location, payment terms, everything like that. You can also then, let's just generate this first so we can see it. So this is, again, we can just double check. It's showing the specific columns that we have selected here. So we've got my order number, customer, all that, as well as then giving us the totals at the bottom. So this is then showing me all the information of the sales that I made in the last month. Another handy thing that you can do is you can also group your information by different categories. So again, different things that you may want to kind of see all your information together. On this one, we have nothing filtered, but we could do it by payment status if we wanted. And if I generate it this way, I'll see like all the paid orders together, all the unpaid, anything like that. So now you'll see I've got 2 orders that are only invoiced, and I've got 3 orders here that are paid fully. And then you also do have sorting options. So this again will just change the way that the information is presented to you. So right now it's sorting by invoice date in each of these groupings. And then, but you could change it to any other setting that you might want on there. Another thing that you may be looking for, how much profit am I making per order? If we go back to our reports, you can see that most likely be with like a sales order profit report. This one, again, you can filter by any date or time or anything like that that you specifically need. If we're looking for, we could just look for all of our orders. Again, we can kind of customize if we want to see only the fulfilled, started, or if we wanted to add any other filters on here. And in here, we can see that we're getting the order numbers, we're getting the gross profit already included in here. So this is something that we know we can generate to see how much profit we're making on each order. So here again, you can see we're getting the sales amount, we're getting the profit. It's going to give everything in a nice total at the bottom, which we can then use for any of our accounting softwares or anything else that you need to work with on this information. Another common report that I think a lot of people usually want to find is possibly how profitable each of your customers are. So this one, we've got a customer order history report. Again, you can filter down by specific customers if you want to. Again, you can kind of choose your different columns and everything. I don't believe the profit is by default usually selected. So on here, I've actually added the profit column onto this so that we'll be able to see it with it. And then when we're generating the report, I'm going to actually be able to see how much profit we've been making from each customer. So this column is now showing on here. And it's got it broken down again. So right now it's grouping it by each customer and then their orders. So I can see all of Arthur Curry's orders. Here we can see all of Barry Allen, and as I scroll through each of the different ones, it's going to go through every single one of my customers and then through their orders and give me the totals at the end of each one. Let's go through one more before we move on. Another question usually is, what are my most profitable selling products? This one, we do have a sales by product details information report. Again, you can filter by pretty much anything that you need on there, add or remove them as you need. And you can, again, this one by default is not showing the profit or the cost on there. So maybe I want to see both of those in here. So I can add it in. And now this way I'm going to be able to see. So whenever I sell my racing bike, we've got a sales cost of 190, profit of 234, and this is going to break it down. Again, this is doing it by category. So I've got all my bikes together. I've got products like chips and energy drinks and everything, so that are all put together. And again, you can take this information and use it somewhere else like Excel, which we'll get into in just a little bit. So let me just switch back over here. So the next handy thing that you can do with the desktop version of inFlow Cloud is you can actually save reports. So if you customize any of your reports, you can actually then save them. You can name them so that there's something meaningful to you that you can then pull up, and it will save the filters and the columns that you've specified already. You can also update these reports and delete them as needed. And one of the big things to keep in mind is that saved reports are per user, so they're only available to the user who actually saved them. So if you are in a company that you have multiple users and you all kind of use similar reports or anything like that, it is not shared between accounts. So if you set one up for yourself, your team members would have to set them up as well. So we can just quickly show how you can save a report. So let's say we wanted to see a report of how much money customers may owe us at a certain time. We do have a customer payment summary report here. Now on this, again, you can filter down lots of things. If I'm saving a report, you might want it to be more broad, or maybe you're always checking back on a specific customer if you have like one very large one or something like that. So you can select a specific customer to save. As well, in something like this, if we're trying to check to see who may be owing us money, we would want to filter down to only see the ones that are partially paid or still owing, or possibly maybe we want to see uninvoiced ones as well because they wouldn't have paid either. So if we generate this report, we're going to see I've got a few customers here that have a balance on here. Now, if we click this More button here on the left-hand side beside Generate Report again, this is going to give us where we have all of our columns, but at the bottom, it also has a report title. So this we can change. We could say Customers Owing is the report title. If you'd like, you can set a description on them, and then very easily you can save it to your reports just by hitting this Add to My Reports button here. Now you'll see as soon as I hit it, it changed to update my report. So if I wanted to change any of the information on here, you can pick something different and then hit update, and that will then change the saved report that you have. And then now when you're in the reports section, if I go under my reports, you'll now see we've got this Customers Owing section here, and it will keep all the settings that I had saved, so like uninvoiced, partial, anything like that. So if we want to kind of see that work, if I go back to just the customer payment summary, it's showing all again, so it's got everything selected. But if I go back to that specific report that I saved again, it's keeping just the things that I had selected. So again, just makes it a little faster way to save those reports and get back to the ones that you might specifically need or that you use a lot of the time. So we can, looks like we can move on. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about is exporting your reports. There is a few different ways of doing this, so we'll try and go over kind of a couple different things as well as some ways that you may not have thought of. Okay, so talking about exporting the reports. So exporting them can give you a few different ways of working with the data. A lot of times you can see the information in there, but you might want to run some formulas or do something else with it. When you run a report, you have lots of different options when you save it. You can save it as PDF files. So if you want to send it to somebody, again, just looking like the report does when you view it, then that's a great way of doing it. You can save it as a CSV file. So that's a comma separated value file, which will let you get all the information into something like Excel, where you can then manipulate that data if you want to use it for something. We also have two different types of Excel formats. There's just the regular Excel format where the report goes into an Excel file and looks almost identical to what the report actually does as you're viewing it on the screen. Or you have the raw data one, which will save it with no columns, no headers, anything like that. It's just the specific raw data that's in that report. You can also save it as a Word doc or an RTF file. So again, those are just ones that you can view the information on again in another format. And so again, just like I was mentioning, when you save it in the raw text data, you only get the raw data. You get no columns or formatting on it, just the numbers. And I can show you a quick example of that in a minute. One other thing we will show is that you can also save data from other areas of the program, such as like in your sales order list or your current stock list into CSV files, which again, maybe you can't get the information you want out of a report, or it might be easier to get the information from, again, like your current stock screen. So exporting that to a CSV file can sometimes be easier. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So let's go back to our sales by product, our sales order summary. again, with this, we're just seeing our basic orders. We can see all of our information on here. Now at the top, you've got the options for printing. Again, this would just let you print it out like you would expect. And then save as. When you hit save as, you get a few different options in here. So this is where you have all your different file types. So again, you've got your PDF, CSV files, the two different Excel files. So again, Microsoft Excel, this one here will give you specifically, it'll look exactly like what this report does here on your screen. If you do the raw text data, it's only going to give you the values from here. So it'll give you the subtotals, the freight, everything like that, but it's not going to give you these headers or anything. If you export it as a CSV file, you will get the headers or the columns as well as the information as well. And then the other file formats that you have. So I've got a couple of these saved here just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So this one here is when we save it as just regular Excel format file. Again, it looks very much like the report that you've got on the screen, even does the same coloring that you've set up in the program. Again, it's just an easier way of seeing it like that. If we save it instead as the raw data format, it will show up like this. So when we save it as raw data, again, it comes in like this. It's a little less pretty. You don't have the column heading. So again, you might want to reference the report that you saved it off of just to get that information. But it is giving you everything that you can then edit or modify, as well with like the totals and everything for those columns as well, so that you can manipulate that data any way that you might need. Just 1 second, sorry about that. Okay, I think I'm back in. Oh, perfect. Thank you very much for letting me know. Again, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. It froze out on me. So I was trying to show what it looks like when you save the file as a CSV instead. Usually it's a little more helpful because it'll still give you the full information. So you've still got the column headers, as well as the information in Excel or whatever program you choose to use. So this way you can manipulate the data easier. If you need to run formulas or anything like that, you can easily on this information. So if I wanted a total of all my sales, I can easily get it that way, kind of thing. And again, you can kind of combine reports and do everything like that together. So the other way that you can export or kind of save information that you may not necessarily always think of is, so while the reports can be extremely helpful for a lot of the things that you may look for, again, you might not be able to get everything you're looking for there, or you might want something easier. So if I wanted to get, for instance, a quick snapshot of some of my current stock, again, you can do this on almost any of the lists in the program. But let's say I wanted to see quickly all of the energy drinks I have in stock. I can filter down all my information. It'll give everything here like you're used to seeing in inFlow. But if you right click on this top row of the list, you'll actually get this little menu where you can export the contents to a CSV file. So if we choose to do this, it will actually give us then a CSV file with everything that we just saw in that list. So in this case, this was the current stock screen. I filtered it down to see only my energy drinks. I'm now getting all that information in a CSV file with the quantity and the locations and category and everything like that, just like you're seeing in that list. And again, you can do this from pretty much any of the lists in inFlow. So again, if you wanted to do that from your sales order list or your customer list or purchase order, anything like that, that it can actually export that information as well. Looks like we might be good to move on. So quickly moving on so that we can show reports in the web. So this is, again, using the inFlow Cloud web app that you can access anytime from any browser just by going to app.inflowinventory.com. Again, like the desktop version, you can customize these reports almost the same way that you do on the desktop. So we can briefly go over that. You still have the same filters, the same columns for the most part. And again, we are working on the web app reports constantly. It's one of the ongoing projects with the team. So more features will be coming to this in the near future. At the moment, the one sad thing with the reports on the web is that there is no printing or exporting them yet. So that is going to be coming in the future. But again, if you just needed to quickly find some information and pull up that data on the web anywhere that you are, you can easily do that without having to install the actual inFlow Cloud program. So we can quickly show that. So this is your inFlow Cloud web app. When you log in, we do have a quick access to your reports that you can get to right here on the homepage once you log in. So again, the same categories like you do on the desktop, your sales, your purchasing, your inventory, your administration ones, or you can access them at any point by clicking the menu on the top left and scrolling down to reports here on the side. So similar again to the desktop app, this does give you a preview of some of the columns that are listed by default. So again, sales by product summary, you've got item, sold quantity, total sales, cost of good. And as you scroll down, so these are all kind of showing some of the information that you can get on there. One of the things we might be looking for in this instance, maybe like what inventory do I have in stock right now, broken down by location. So in the inventory section, we've got your inventory by location report. If we click on this, so the interface does look a little different here on the web, but again, does have most of the same functionality. So you have your filters here at the top. By default, there's a few of them here. So again, you can change what category you want to select to filter down by. You could do your locations. If you want to add more, this report unfortunately doesn't have any other ones here, but you would see them all in here, or you can remove filters if you don't want to use them. And then a great thing, again, that not everyone may notice is that this button here actually on the left-hand side of the header, this is where you can actually then adjust the columns that are in here or change, again, like your group by information. So this is where then you can add in those extra columns. So this one, again, only has the 4 columns available, but I can show you another report that has more information. So when we generate this report, I know we had a question in the chat asking if you could see pictures or anything like that. So again, with the web app, because it is using a different system to generate the reports, it's a little more flexible. So this one is actually showing pictures of my items in the report with it, as well as then the category, the quantity. And if you want to sort any of these, you can actually click these little arrows at the top. So if I wanted to sort by quantity, I can click it on here. And so now it's actually going to be sorted by quantity from lowest to highest, and still give me the totals and everything at the bottom. And if we go back to our report, so another really useful report when you're looking for your actual inventory or anything is we do have the historical inventory, both by summary and details. Now, these are actually the 2 reports that are the only ones that can actually give you a snapshot of what your inventory was on a specific date. So these can be very helpful if you're trying to see what inventory you had at year end or at the start of the quarter or something like that. So this, you always have to set a specific date to check for your inventory. So this, we could say January 1st. And this is going to then give me a snapshot of exactly what my inventory was on that specific date. Every other report, it's all going to be cumulative, so it's going up until the current date kind of thing. So these two, the historical ones, are the ones that will actually go back to a specific date and kind of recalculate everything up until that day. And again, so looking at here, this one we could also add in the category if we wanted to, or filter by sublocation if you have sublocations enabled on your system. And then probably one of the other most used inventory reports is going to be the inventory movement reports. These ones you can use to kind of track where your inventory has gone. So this one can actually show you then different transaction types. So if you wanted to see where, again, like where your inventory went, if it was sold, when you purchased them, if it was used in work orders, anything like that, this one's going to give you the most information that you can kind of track the history of products, just to make getting that information a little easier. And again, this one does have a lot of different columns that you can show on there, that you can turn on or off. Again, you can group them still and change all your different filters on here. So the last section that we're going to cover on here today is, again, this is a desktop feature, but the dashboard. This is similar to reports, but it actually gives you kind of a visual representation of some of your stats, unlike what the reports does. So this you can see in kind of like graphs and stuff. It does have a lot of options to configure, and that you can change in there. Now, again, with the dashboard, it is important to kind of pay attention to what fields are being represented. We can send out a link, but we do have a knowledge base article on our website that goes through what reports would give you the same information as what's on some of the dashboard information. And the only other thing, the values can't be exported or printed from the dashboard specifically. So again, you would have to pull up that information in reports or anything like that. And just to reiterate, available on the desktop only. This is not in the web app. So if we switch back to cloud. So the dashboard can be found from the main menu under General. You can go to Dashboard here. Again, this will generate based off of real-time data that's in your database. Again, you can already see it's a lot more visual than kind of how the reports are. You have three main sections on the dashboard here. So at the top, we've got the timeline where you can view a lot of different information about like your sales, your profit, your incoming money, outgoing money, anything like that. In the bottom left, we have outstanding orders. So this will tell you your outstanding sales orders, purchase orders, products that inFlow is suggesting that you reorder, or work orders that aren't completed. And then in the bottom right, we've got kind of the top list of stuff that you can do. So each of these two sections, the timeline and the top products, can be configured. In the top here, you've got different options that you can show on the graph here. So right now we're showing the total amount of sales completed, cost of goods sold, and sales profit based on the last 90 days. Again, you can change the timing and everything on here as well as grouping by, so days, weeks, months, depending on how granular you want to get with seeing the information. It'll just give you a little more accurate counting of that information. If you hover over any of these, it'll give you kind of those totals on that specific point, so you can see that information a little more clearly. And again, it gives you kind of your chart here, your identifier, which line is which. You can also change this to a bar graph if you want, or a pie graph also, so whichever way is easier for you to see your data. And then in the bottom, the top products. So right now it's showing the top products with highest total profit. So it's showing me my top 5 in there and giving me the actual values on here as well. But you can also then change this. If you drop it down, you have lots of options. So products with the highest value, sold or purchased, the highest quantity sold. So like if I want to see what I've sold the most of, I've sold Batman's Batarang 35 times, so more than anything else that I have. Now you can also adjust the date frame that this is happening from. So this is right now, this is all time, but I could filter it down to the top ones this month. And I'll see that I've sold different items. And not sure, it may be getting cut off on the screen, but there is also at the very bottom of this drop down an option to show either the top or the bottom products and then how many. So I can actually edit this. I could say I want to see the top 10 products this month. And now it's going to actually change to show top 10 products, and I can scroll down again and see through the results on here. And again, as I said, there's no way of exporting this information. So it's, again, something kind of just meant to be visual that you can easily see. Now, a lot of this information, like your sales completed, cost of goods, your profit, anything like that, can actually be pulled up through reports. So like right here, it's showing me in the last 90 days, I did $6,113 in completed sales. If I wanted to replicate that in a report, this one uses the sales order profit report. Again, you have to be kind of careful. You have to match the information on your report with what the dashboard is using. So the dashboard is using the last 90 days. So I would need my invoice date to be the last 90 days. And for profit reports, it's only showing inventory status, ones that are fulfilled. So if I uncheck these other ones and generate it, I should get the same amount. So in the sales amount here, $6,113.09, which if we look at the dashboard, so that's the same amount on there. So again, this information is all being pulled from inFlow, so majority of it you can get in a report as well. And as I said, we can share the link to the knowledge base article that does go through most of these options on here and tells you which options you need to choose in the report to actually get that same information. So that is going to bring us to the end of the webinar. If you'd like to join our next webinar on April 21st, Tuesday, April 21st, you can sign up. Tamim is posting a link for it. It's going to be a webinar all about Dymo integration and labels with inFlow. So how to design them, set them up, get them working together, and then being able to print them out. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day. Stay safe.